Revolutions here. Hello, Andrew Chamberlain. I'm trying not to be so excited. I realize looking back on all our podcasts, I always start with, hello, I'm so excited for XYZ. So I thought I'd be
Why
a
why are
little
you
more
doing that?
measured.
Why?
Oh,
That's not
wait, I
our
forgot you're
style.
the boring one. You're the
We're not.
boring one. I
Oh,
should be
how dare
excited.
you? Honestly, we're not one of those other stuffy podcasts. We're like all fun and games on Association Transformation.
I know
We're
we
full of
don't.
joy. We're full of joy always.
Oh my God. Wow, you're really in your summer mood. You're happy. This is weird. This
Yeah,
is very weird.
enjoy it for this one episode.
All right, but okay, so I am excited. I'm not going to pretend. I'm not going to hold it back. I am excited about today because it's been such a transition from where we were a few years ago to where we are now. And events are part of the association business model. And if you don't see it that way, then you really are stuck in the old and probably missing quite a few opportunities. So you and I, neither of us are events experts.
No, but
Um,
I don't. That doesn't stop me telling people I'm an event
Oh
expert.
dear, yes. So we brought in a real expert, so we don't have to listen to you espouse your knowledge. But so a real expert and an opportunity to discuss the future of events and where growth lies. Because let's be honest, no one's going to turn down some extra revenue or revenue diversification or the new, I don't know, I'd say new normal of what in-person engagement looks like and how to monetize that. So this seems like a perfect conversation for now, for any day, any month, any year. And I'm
Hmm.
really excited to invite Katrina Breen with Breen Consulting. Thank you so much for joining us, Katrina. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you both for having me here.
Now
Very well.
let's see. You and Andrew already knew each other because you both have the accents. I'm the
Yes.
boring American. I know you're not from the same place,
Well, I was
but
going to say, British listeners will be thinking, they're nowhere near each other. What are they talking about? But yeah, go on.
how
Yeah.
far apart? How far apart are you?
Well, I mean, Katrina, you're a Londoner. You're a Londoner, so
Yeah.
that's miles
Yeah.
away from
I'm
where
a
I'm
born and
from.
bred Londoner,
Yeah.
and I think you're the Cotswolds, aren't you? So we're a couple of hours away from each other.
Oh yeah, I live in the New
You've got
Forest.
no
I
the
thought
New
because I'm not
Forest.
from the
Yeah.
Cotswolds though, but yeah, you're
Oh
right.
no,
Yeah,
you're not
yeah.
from. Yeah.
Well, and
So we're
and
not
you
a
know when we
million
talk
miles.
about events, you guys are talking about driving. When we talk about annual conferences and expos, we're usually trying to pick between coasts that are 3,000 miles apart. So, events mean something
Yeah.
different for associations in different areas, not only countries but regions. And I wonder, what are you seeing, Katrina, as it relates to post-COVID events? Have they just come
Mhm.
back the way they were before and people are just happy to be back in person? Or has there truly been an evolution in events and content-driven gatherings improving?
Yeah. Both. So I think that obviously the events business fell off a cliff during COVID, rightfully so, as we couldn't meet in person. But what it did, it drove innovation, and it was fabulous. It was a fabulous time if you were lucky enough to be in the world where virtual events could work, digital events. So innovation really happened. I think everyone brought their A game in and delivered what they could with what they had. And I think as an industry, everyone really got together and behind it. Post COVID, I think what's been really interesting is that obviously digital events have moved to the side, pretty much, because I mean there are lots of places that still do webinars and things, but pretty much moved to the side, and that's mainly because people recognize face-to-face live events are really important for any organization really, and they recognize the business. And then post COVID, the events business boomed, and so it took a little bit of time to come back, but I would say that it's actually at high engagement now. But what I find really interesting is that I think that the innovation that was happening during COVID and kind of just slightly afterwards may have decreased. And I think that it's it's a shame, but as people are now getting back into the business as usual, it's hard for people to bring that kind of innovation into their organization. So it's a transitional time. Sorry, I was going to say, but I also think because of content and how the content that's necessary, people, the amount of information that people need and how they actually digest it, the change in how people are receiving the content, and if people are leading with content and put it at the heart of their events, it changes the landscape of events. And I think you can really do some fun things at the moment that A, increase your revenue, and B, increase your audience engagement.
Well, it's funny you bring up content. I mean, Andrew and I are fresh off the release of our most recent white paper about microlearning. And I too saw the opportunities to move that technique and those philosophies into the in-person. It doesn't have to just be about technology. So is it about the quality of the content, or is it really about how it's delivered in it? I'm assuming you could have great content about the most earth-shattering topic and it could be done poorly.
Oh, 100%. And unfortunately, I've seen it a few times. But yeah, and that's right. And it's recognizing your audience needs. It's really important when you're looking at what you're delivering, how you're delivering it, and what your audience needs and expects. That's the key. So, for example, when I was during COVID, I was working for RCNI, so part of the Royal College of Nursing group, huge membership association, really difficult time for their members. We switched very quickly to webinars, and where many organizations post-COVID have actually really reduce their digital events, it was a real opportunity to keep them going because nurses work shifts, they work long hours, they don't have a lot of time to go to face-to-face live events. So that actually revenue stream continued. That content, delivering it in the right way to the audience, meant members were engaged a whole lot more, and we could get that webinar sponsored.
Ah, yeah, that's interesting. Sponsored.
Yeah, I wondered how long it was going to take for that word to come into play.
Yeah, because I think sponsorship is the backbone of a lot of event income, particularly the big annual meetings, annual conferences. Sponsorship and exhibition cash is always sort of the big foundation piece on which everything else is built. Are we seeing, though, have we, you say that we're continuing to see, some good sponsorship investment in online learning, but are we seeing the same kind of commitment, or more to the point, are we seeing different expectations from, financial sponsors, post-COVID? Are they expecting something different from their experience of rocking up to, these big events?
Yeah, I do. And I really think that there's the standard kind of like gold, silver, bronze packages that you might get at an exhibition has really had its day. And I think that because it's more about return on investment, and sponsors have to be more specific. So when you do the digital events, it's really easy to say we had like 2,000 delegates watching the event, and they engaged for 90 minutes, and we had a drop-off rate, stats, and so the people who spend the money can turn around to their marketing department, or the marketing department, whoever sponsors it, and say, you can see the clear return on investment. Yeah. It's trickier. If you say exhibition, when you say sponsorship tends to be, you could say conference as well, but with an exhibition. But it's slightly harder to actually analyze your ROI, and that is because you can scan badges who come to your stand. You can talk to them. You can build up your database, but the responsibility is on the exhibitor or sponsor to actually follow up those leads. So they might have brilliant leads, but it's going up and making sure that the return on investment happens. But it also, you can't measure it. It could be in 3, 6, 12 months time that return on investment happens. So that's kind of changed. And I think a way that I have approached it in the past is you don't just offer the sponsorship. You include a speaking slot. You tie it in with another event. So, I mean, the perfect sponsorship relationship is a partnership where you talk to your potential sponsor and you say, what are your objectives? What are your strategic objectives for this this profile of audience. And then how can we meet it? It's not about, oh, we have a bronze package, I want to sell it to you. It's about meeting the needs and creating partnerships with your clients. It's really important.
That's really interesting, because I think, I agree completely. I see exactly what you're saying, and I think it is absolutely the correct approach. But I can't help but feel, as a supplier to the sector, but also having been on the buy-in side, as it were, the event management association side of things, I can't help but feel quite a heavy degree of cynicism around the term partnership, because I think for too long people just changed the use of language but didn't actually change the product that was being offered. We won't call it sponsorship, we'll call it partnership, and actually you were still getting the same limited access, arguably, that you were getting when it was just to kind of stick your badge on something and give you an exhibition space or what have you. So and I think a lot of associations really struggle to understand what partnership opportunity looks like, because there seems to be this inherent fear that if you partner with a supplier, they're going to just use it as a marketing platform.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Of course they are. That's the whole point.
Yeah, but I mean, an explicit marketing platform. They're going to stand at the front of a room and spend 25 minutes talking about their products. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that's the truth behind partnership. Partnership, we're all still here to sell. We're here to give value to our members. We're here to give value to the sponsors. They're here to get business. I mean, let's not pretend what this is.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
What we mean when we say partnership is about mutual benefit.
Yeah.
And I think proactive mutual benefit that is crafted for the sponsor, not just as an end result of what we were already going to do.
Yeah.
So I go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, exactly. So you could sit down with a potential sponsor, and they could say, I want to speak to high-level people within your industry who are decision makers, blah, blah, blah. And these decision makers could be really looking for information which is about a certain topic. And you could create a roundtable about that, which is sponsored. It's not in your face, but so the sponsor has the opportunity to talk to these delegates within the context of the roundtable subject. The people who are attending this roundtable get everything they need and also get to network with peers. So it's beneficial for them. So you don't walk away going, oh my God, that was a complete sales presentation. I'm not doing that again. That serves no purpose to anybody. But that's the whole thing. When you start looking at sponsorship partnerships differently, and you start looking at a more higher level, and not your sales exec selling offer of a sales brochure, but you actually have conversations and recognize that for it to be successful, value on both sides means that everybody wins in this situation. It changes what you do, but it also changes for the better, because it allows innovation to come in. It allows you to have a little bit of fun, dare I say, like, you want to do that, what about if we did that?
Well, I think that's what
has worked.
And that can make events unique, where you're not just doing the same thing and plugging in different pieces with each event. What I took away from these last few years of the digital transformation around events was the ability to capture analytics. I think events have now been put into a context of data, and success metrics are something that we now all have an expectation of. We now have access to. And so events really aren't just about the portfolio of what we've always done, or what the chairperson wants, or even what the sponsors want. It's about what drives member value, where we can deliver content. And I wonder, based on what you're seeing, what are those success metrics? I mean, unlike being virtual, it's not just about clicks and how long people stay on for, and registrations versus showing up and downloads. What are the new and modern success metrics around events moving forward?
Yeah, it's engagement. It's 100%
What does
engagement.
that mean, though? That's not even a real thing. Like, that means everything and nothing.
So, I mean, I'm sure you've been to a mini event where you just turn up and then have a cup of coffee and just leave. Yeah, that is no engagement. But there are things you can do. So the different events that you can go to, if, say, for example, we take a conference, if people are paid for to attend that, you can see by scanning badges, finding out when they've attended, what they've attended, how long they've attended for. You can use voting tools and technology within the events to highlight what the engagement level. And then post-event analysis is hugely important. And there's different ways of doing it to make sure you actually get the right information through. And I know this is a bit old school, what I'm about to say, and it's not new or fancy, but you can do all the metrics and you can analyze, you can bring in all this fancy stuff, but actually until you start talking to people, you won't actually get a better understanding. I do know you've got to understand what success looks like. Yeah. And it's very hard to take it from the data, from the numbers, from the revenue, from the delegate numbers, but to get under the skin of things and actually talk to people and say, yes, this is what worked for them, this is what didn't work for them. And I think people often lose the ability to talk to people at their events and find out what really worked for them.
What would you say, though, then, is the importance of talking to those who chose not to come?
Oh, that's massively important. That's really important because they're your next market. And right. So that has to be, and I mean, many commercial, I don't know how many businesses within the association actually do this, but I certainly know in the commercial world, they do that. They spend a lot of time speaking to the people who did not attend. And I used to do it quite a lot because you find out why. And you know what? A lot of the time it's just like, couldn't make it, daughter sick, all these kind of reasons, but you do find out absolute gems, and that's the kind of stuff that will change your event for next year.
Yeah, because I'm assuming, like, membership, you have to work to retain and bring your members back over and over and over again, but you're still trying to understand and appeal to a prospective market to fill in the gaps and to grow. What does I know you're very focused on and committed to the discussion of and the identification of event growth. What does that really mean? Is that just more bodies? Is that better engagement? Is that more dollars? Because I'm assuming organizations get limited by capacity, by the size of the venue, by size of the membership or their staff. What does growth even mean anymore as it relates to events?
Yeah. It's very individual, and it really depends on what the association is currently doing. So it could be, you may not have to change anything. You may not have to bring in new events, but what you could do is change the way you're doing things. So you might run 5 or 6 events, and you may have a small events team that deliver it. But look at what they're doing. Have you got the right skill set within the team? Look at the way you're processing, how you what the process is. Is there opportunity to streamline? Look at the content. Is it relevant? Is it delivered in the right way? There's loads of things. Could you get more revenues, more sponsorship opportunities? There's loads of things you can do to your current event portfolio. That doesn't mean you have to change the world and put this massive pressure on yourself to come up with new ideas to change, your event world. You don't have to do that. You can really improve what you're currently doing. Once you've done that, and if you are looking to grow, I think as an association, you really have to put it as a company-wide objective, because everybody has to get behind it. Go on, sorry.
No, go on. I'll let you finish, because then I'm going to poke the bear. Go for it.
He's going to take you in a totally different direction. Yeah, he's going to derail.
Okay, I'm happy for that. But yes, so what does growth look like? It can be as simple as looking at what you're currently doing and improving your current offerings across who does what, how they do it, and who you sell to. And
okay, the 1% mindset. Let's just get 1% better with every event. Okay.
But if you're looking to improve your event business and grow it, and by that, for me, generally, I would say growth across revenue and diversification. So if you're looking at that diversification could be who you're selling to, different sectors of your audience profile, different sectors of your industry profile, and then your membership engagement. Who's coming to your events? Are they coming back? Why aren't they coming? And what can you do to improve that? If you've done all that and you're happy, and you are now still looking to improve and increase your events business, then I think there's a long list of things you could do, but I think your number one objective should be, if that's actually something you're doing, you have to put it as a strategic objective. And then you have to, as an organization, put the weight behind it. Because the days of events business being a small part within a bigger business are over. For you to get the best out of everything, you have to be all pulling in the same direction.
Okay. So
Hold on.
Will I take a sip of water before
Where is
this
this
one?
going? I just can't wait. Hold
no,
on. I
no,
can't
it's
wait.
it's interesting because you said gone are the days where events are a small part of the bigger picture. I argue that for too many organizations, events has been too big an element of the bigger picture. And we saw during the pandemic, a lot of associations were basically exposed as de facto association event management companies, rather than and because they all those who were really suffering financial terms was because a huge element of their income was taken away from them. I question whether the model at all is still relevant in the mid 21st century, or quarter mark of the 21st century. I am wondering. I hear everything you're saying, and I agree with all of the ideas and suggestions that you have. I can see a lot of opportunity there. I don't disagree at all with that. I do, however, question whether we should be re-examining, is there inherent value in a comprehensive event program as part of the kind of membership value proposition. I'm struggling at the moment because I'm still not seeing, or rather, let me rephrase this: is there an opportunity to be innovative on a much bigger scale as a sector? And I don't know. How do you? I know how you feel about it. I can see, I can see it.
No,
But what are your
no.
thoughts on that?
My thoughts are, during the pandemic and the de facto event management companies, the reason why that didn't work is because people weren't getting the value from the events. So it's these things work if members are attending an event and they find it valuable and relevant, then that can't be a problem. They're getting something from it. If there's too many events and it's just you're flooded, then there's absolutely no point. People have to do their day job. They just can't just turn up and go to an event morning, noon, and night. But in terms of like changing industry and the way you see things and bringing innovation to it, that's a fabulous idea. Always up for that. But that's not at the getting rid of events. It's including it. And if there's another way of doing it where you can get that human connection, which happens at a live event, when you can have the stories, you can share experiences where you can do so many more exciting things than sitting in a conference room, windowless, and learning in a very dry environment. There's so much more you can do, and if that means putting events within a bigger picture, I think it's definitely a conversation. But the one thing that COVID really did bring out, especially from the live events environment, is the whole connection part that events brings, and the sitting down next to somebody and sharing ideas, brainstorming, best practice, knowledge. That's hard to replicate in any other way.
Well, and I think that it's important to note that the competition in the event space, there is private sector, there is for-profit competition for events.
Yeah.
And I think associations need to remember that bringing people together at a convention center or at a hotel and putting people at a podium and offering a little food at a reception and a drink, anyone can do that. They don't have, that's not unique to an association to provide that. And we've seen that in some of the business networking spaces where that networking piece has been challenged. The associations aren't the only game in town. And some associations have decided to sell their shows or partner with that for-profit competitor to do things together. So the value is clearly there because there is competition for that, not only for the value that the attendee gets, but the value, the revenue that it brings in. So competition demonstrates that to me.
Because I'm seeing it. So I was going to say, echoing that point, I'm seeing a lot. I'm starting to think there's a bit of synergy with with how we saw the kind of not demise, the transition of sort of trade magazines and association publications. A lot of associations sold up their, their publication portfolio and handed it over to private providers, private publishing firms, because they weren't necessarily, either it was highly resource intensive and they weren't realizing the financial return on investment,
Right.
but also that it wasn't necessarily, netting them a kind of, value, a non-financial return, a non-financial return to the value proposition. I don't know. I maybe am completely. I probably am. I usually am completely misjudging the mood, but I don't know. It feels a wee bit like there's I feel almost like we're almost at some kind of crossroads where we can evolve and innovate and really, do something spectacular with the event portfolios. Or if we don't do that on a big scale, it's going to falter. And I wonder, are we still in the midst of a bounce back, a post-pandemic bounce back at the moment? I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, that's why I'm putting it out there. It's just a feeling.
What I would say to that, it's interesting. I do hear what you're saying about the magazines and everything, but to your point, Elisa, about the competition, that just rings in my head all the time. There are commercial companies who have departments who are just built to look at new markets, to look at opportunities, and they do that because there's opportunity and growth within events, and this is. Associations rarely have that opportunity to do that. So if they're not going to do it, somebody else will. And so who's speaking to your members then? Who's giving you the value? Who's got the engagement?
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's important for associations to remember whether it's content and that open source environment where you can find out things anywhere and everywhere, or it's the events. What is their unique value proposition? And events fit into that recipe. But it's an important reminder. And, to Andrew's question about large scale, big thinking innovation, I think we all want that, but associations are often afraid of that because it usually comes with a price tag. And especially now that it's very tech driven, I would predict that the for-profit world will advance those innovations first, and associations will copy, paste, and borrow as they see what works.
It doesn't have to be that way.
No,
because what associations have up their sleeve, and I really want people to recognize this, is route to market. You have the membership database that no commercial organization has. You are providing value to your membership, and as a result, you have the access to them, and that's the key. And if you speak to any of the competitors within the association world, that 100% they will say that. So associations have the key ingredients for the perfect recipe for events. They've got industry experts who know about content and can deliver it. They've got the route to market, so with their membership database, and then they've got the sponsor industry. They know who want to talk to their sponsors. That's all you need for an event. They've got it. All they just need is the resource behind it and the ability to have the time to think about it, to drive it forward. Innovations, it can happen, but you just need to bring everybody together.
Yeah. Well, and it's going to be interesting to see where we go moving forward. Katrina, before we let you go, I have two kind of rapid fire questions that I wanted to finish on. As an association events expert, you've seen it all. And I just wondered if there are benchmarks and rules to the business of events, and what would you say as your feeling on events that don't make any money? I know of a lot of association clients who are running events for years and years and years that are in the red, that cost money, and instead of not making money. What's the rule? What's the advice? What's the next step for those associations?
So I would say, if it's not making money, does it need to? I don't think every event has to make money. I think if it provides the value and you covered within the membership fees, if you're getting enough money to cover that, I know you say in the red, but if you have enough to cover it and your members are getting value from it, that's fine. That's okay, because you don't want to become a commercial only association. That's not your job. Yeah. But you have to recognize there are opportunities to bring in commercial if you want to. If you want to.
I'm glad you said it
so
that
I would
way.
say that
I really like that, because I know that members too, as I'm doing value research and member feedback engagements, members are feeling nickel and dimed. They're feeling overcharged, if you will. We're already paying dues. Why do I also have to pay for this webinar, for this conference registration, for this? So I'm glad you said it that way, and that you leave room for what? Don't give me the face.
Oh, this is a whole different podcast, though. This nickel and dime malarkey. Members who want to spend $50 a year on membership and then expect to get basically $1,000 worth of benefits in a year. That's
I'm coming to this from a trade association space where memberships may be $10,000.
Yeah, all right, okay, yeah,
so,
okay.
There's lots of perspectives here. So go, your face, put your face away. Katrina and I are having a conversation.
But also there is, you don't have to get revenue from the delegate. There are ways to get it. You just sponsorship only, free to attend. There's different models that you can look at to actually make it worthwhile. Yes. So that's the first thing I would say about it. The other thing, did you have
one other question? But you finish on this one first.
Go on. Oh no, the only other thing I would say, if I was speaking to associations, is that if you are looking to become more commercial, be more commercial or commercialize your events a little bit more, is be bold, give it a go, but put a project timeline in place with times and where you would say by X date I would want to have this amount of revenue and these many delegates. And the important thing when you do that is to actually make sure you put in your contracts with your suppliers and your venues that by 6 months out, if we haven't got it, we can pull it. So you can be bold, but protect yourself if it doesn't work. And if you fail quickly.
And so when you talk about risk management and protection, that was really the big lesson learned about events during COVID. What would you say is the rule as it relates to total revenue coming from events? If you have if you're 50% or more, or of your total revenue budget is coming from events, is that a red flag? Is that a goal? Where are we in terms of managing risk, and what percentage of your budget is too much to be coming from events?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's dependent on the association. And I would say when you look at your events, you would look at your event portfolio. If within that 50% of your overall revenue, and if 80% is coming from one event, that's really scary to me. You would want to spread the risk across your event portfolio, and make sure 20%, I don't know, roundtables, webinars, digital, blah, 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 diversify within your events portfolio. If you've got the opportunities to grow where members still feel engaged, they don't feel robbed, they don't feel sold to. I think, Andrew, when you were talking about, the innovation differently in this world and not events, I think it's almost event fatigue, and you always have too much of it, But I think that if members are still getting enough from it, and they have and you're balanced in your portfolio, then 50%, lovely. I mean, well done then. Yeah. That's what I think.
Well, thank you so much for your perspective. I do want to apologize to the audience. I think we broke our promise during this pod. I think we talked about COVID too much.
We did.
I think we said this year we were not going to use the word COVID. And what we're really talking about here is learning from the past, learning from history, and not repeating mistakes, and taking those times of forced innovation and building upon them. So I apologize. We also used a corporate buzzword that I hate, that we should apologize for. I think Andrew used the word synergy twice. So
synergy is not
that is a penalty.
It's not. No, it's not. No.
That's a $5 penalty.
I'm not paying that one.
2.
No, I'm not paying that. Synergy is a decent word. It's not a buzzword at all.
I just want to say it's a corporate buzzword over here, and it's penalized. So apologies to the audience, but you also just received an amazing don't know, overview of event innovations, opportunities where you could be pushing as it relates to the commercialization of your events. So Katrina, thank you so much.
Yes,
We would
thank
love to
you.
have you back. Welcome to the Association Transformation family. And best of luck to you. Check out Breen Consulting if you have any questions about your events. And check out Association Transformation wherever you get your podcast. Until next time, put your members and your mission first.